Now, Jahbril, your rendition of Baby Baby was
Mm.
my very favorite parts of this movie. It was such a fun, like, John Hughes throwback montage moment. Were
Yeah.
you familiar with like the music of the 80s, 90s, 2000s in the Christian industry before you took on this role? And talk about really getting into this particular scene.
Sure. I mean, I'm a big fan of the 80s, like that whole aesthetic, the music, the movies. So I think George and I are kindred spirits in that. Um, and yeah, reading the script through the first time, like with everyone, I I immediately made the connection with Purple Rain, like just because of how the scene was described, right? Um, and everyone on set loved it. Like Roman and the producers were like, run with it, and so that Prince became the inspiration like early on, and it was a breeze from there. I love Prince, and I think I did my best to do him justice. I tried to channel him as best as I could. And yeah, and getting that like 80s makeover was amazing. It was such a treat, and the song is so good. I can't even like front, like it's me, and I don't want to like toot my own horn, but like not gonna I can't lie, it's my favorite song in the movie.
And Kat, this is your first feature film, right? And it's
Yes.
for the first ever Christian musical. So this is a big deal. What does it mean to you to be a part of this movie?
Well, I mean, I grew up watching High School Musical, Camp Rock. That was like my generation and like my whole childhood. And so, you grow up dreaming of like doing like a movie musical when you're a kid, but like most people, like 99% of people don't grow up and get to do that. And so this is truly like a dream come true. Adam Watts is our music producer, and he actually did the music for Hannah Montana, Camp Rock, High School Musical. So it's just like everything coming together. Like I wish I could go back and tell like 10-year-old me what's happening now because she like wouldn't believe it.
And Jahbril, I love George so much because he's somebody who's so kind and he just loves others regardless of their past and he sees the good in people.
Yeah, I think George is kind of like he's a character that I wish existed when I was a kid. That's for sure. I think he's just so open and generous with his interests and his and his personality is very expressive, in a way that I think a lot of people, especially like young people growing up trying to like figure out who they are, they struggle because it's the comparison to other people. It's the like fear that your interests won't be shared with others, and I think that was definitely relatable. So it was pretty. Uh, it was a pretty natural process, like putting that experience of my own onto George as a character. Yeah, and like you were saying, he's great at like giving advice. He's great at giving love to others, but he can't take his own advice and love himself, and that's his struggle the whole movie. And I think that we're all kind of struggling to get to that like level of self love, self acceptance.
Yeah. Well, and on that note, a big song in the movie is Good Enough, where they sing about how
Yeah,
they don't feel good enough, which is such a beautiful reminder that, like, we are good enough. And in God's eyes, He
yeah.
made it so beautiful and perfect. So, what is the message that you do want to give to your peers who might be struggling right now, especially in the wake of social media and how, like you said, there's so much comparison right now?
Especially for me being a girl, it is so much struggle, like social media, like, oh my gosh, do I look good enough? Do I have like the likes and the followers? Like literally just the whole question, like, is it enough? And in this movie, like, there is a lot of questioning also, like, am I enough? Presley's like, man, am I good enough for George? And she is. George doesn't want her to change. And we're beautiful as God made us. We are as God intended us. And I think that's such a great thing that people are going to take away from this is that everyone in the movie just accepts each other, and we're seeing even like our nerdy quirky characters who maybe aren't the typical cool kids at camp. We're seeing in a beautiful bright light rather than just like the losers at camp. Like, no, Presley and George are seen like they might be quirky, but like they're awesome. And I think kids and teens and tweens and even adults can look up to that.
So, Kat, before this movie, were you familiar with the Christian music that's in this film with Audio A, with Stephen Curtis Chapman, with all these big Christian artists?
So I didn't listen to it a whole lot, but I grew up Baptist. My family grew up Baptist, so they grew up listening to K-Love. And did go to a few like Christian concerts growing up, like Winter Jam and things like that. And so I was familiar with all the people. My parents were like excited out of their minds because they love these songs. And so it was really cool, like just getting to be like, oh wow, like I get to, kind of have some part in this. And I also grew up I did VBS, Vacation Bible School. Yeah, I was a teacher actually for several years. And so we did the song Big House, which is a song that we cover in the movie. And like it's a pretty good cover, I think. But like it was so funny, like me like growing up doing that and then being like, oh wow, like I'm doing it again, and like now it's part of my job.
So awesome. Well, I want to hear from both of you guys on this one. Ultimately, I know you guys want to entertain and you do such a good job at that, but what do you want viewers to take away from this movie?
I think just taking away, like I said before, of a message of just acceptance of others, and maybe like that they may not be like you, but like they're still so worthy of your love and friendship, acceptance of yourself. You're not perfect, but you're just as God made you and how you're intended to be, and that's beautiful and that's wonderful, and the right people will love you for that.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say that yeah, it's definitely been a weird year, and we've been very isolated, just as a nation, as globally. And I think this movie definitely has a great like message and spin of your community is out there, even if you feel very alone in this moment. Like you'll find your people, you'll find your tribe, and they will love you for who you are, and you won't have to change for the real one.